Hi, I'm Drew Saur, and today we're going to talk about some ideas for how to improve your people management skills. This is a common question that I get asked because almost everybody who's trying to take their career to the next level is looking to have a bigger organization to do so. And so what are the skills, what are the ideas that are most important to make sure you make a big impact when you get that next level in that larger scope of responsibility? So there are 4 things that I typically share. So the first one is the idea of the rule of 3. And the rule of 3 is a very simple shorthand such that every time you triple the size of your organization, you need to rethink your methods and how you communicate with your staff. So it starts at 1, so you're an individual contributor, you do your job. First time you get a team, it goes to 3. So 3 people, you can meet every day, you're probably in the same pod, everything's pretty straightforward. And then you triple again, and to make the math easy, it goes 1, 3, 10. So 10 is the next size. Okay, here you have a team, you can fit them all around a conference room, you probably need to start having some sort of regular status to make sure everybody's on the same page. The next tripling is 30. Now 30 can't really fit people in a conference room, and you may not be able to meet with people all day long. So how do you actually manage with 30? Then you go to 100. 100 now, you might not be able to meet with everybody over a month. So you need to rethink that. And then 300, 1,000, etc. So each time you triple, you need to be aware that you're going to need to rethink how you engage with your staff. So that's idea number 1. Just be prepared to change every time you have that tripling of your staff size. The second idea is that even as you grow much bigger, the team is still a collection of individuals. And that's a really important thing to keep in mind, even as you get up into the hundreds of people. So I had a team of 750 at one point in time, but it's really important to remember that that is 750 individuals, because it's very easy at those larger scales to start to think of them as simply a collection of people. And this is where employee surveys and other things can unfortunately give you a false sense of comfort. They're really useful for identifying kind of problem areas, but oftentimes what I've seen happen is you survey 300 people, 88% of people say they're satisfied. That's a good number. Say the benchmark is 74, so you're doing great. And then you move on, right? But at the end of the day, it is a collection of individuals. And to have the most effective teams, you need to keep that in mind and don't get caught in this trap of, well, it's a team collective and I can kind of treat them as a group. You always need to the best of your ability, treat them as individuals, which is really idea number 3. So idea number 1, every time you triple, you need to think differently. Idea number 2, no matter how big it gets, don't think of it as a group. It's really not people management, it's person management. Each individual person has their own story. And that's where this idea number 3 comes in. You need to find out what does that individual actually want to get out of their career. You know what they're doing for the job, presumably that's why you hired them. But what do they really want? What is important to them? The easiest way is to ask. And of course, I learned this the hard way a couple of times, right? Where, as an example, I once gave somebody a really big bonus. They did a great job. I gave them a large bonus. Turns out that wasn't what they were looking for. They were actually upset that they got a large bonus because what they really wanted was that promotion to the next title. Because for them, the title was the thing that really signified their value to the firm. Not the money, but the title. I've had people who had the exact opposite. They got the title. We promoted them. But they really weren't happy because at the end of the day, they were trying to get income because they had a certain dollar value in their mind that they thought they were worth. And you see this all the time, where what you think people might want to be focused on isn't actually what is motivating them. So again, I kind of consider myself a pretty good people reader, but I missed this enough times in my career that I learned to just ask. This is a great way to have a one-on-one conversation and simply be curious. What are they looking for? What do they think their next step is? And you can listen for the words that they want and find out what they're trying to get out of their career. Because the better you can align what they want with what you want, the more productive the relationship's going to be. So again, ask. Obviously, professionally is where you start. Personal questions, the more you can get to know people, the better. But obviously, you have to be a little sensitive to that in the work environment. And so the easiest way I found to do it was simply to share personal data that I was comfortable sharing. Talk about my daughters, talk about whatever it is, and chances are somebody will share back. But for personal details, always let the other person volunteer that, because again, you can kind of get into trouble sometimes if you're pressing with people that aren't comfortable sharing that information. So share what you're comfortable with, go first, and then chances are they will share back. But you can absolutely ask from a professional perspective, what do they want to get out of their career? what motivates them. So that's idea number 3, is think of them as individuals, and then for each individual, try to figure out what do they want. And again, scale comes into play here. So I probably had 200 to 300 that I was able to do that with. Some of them are people that I would meet once every 3 months or even once every 6 months when I would travel around the offices. But there were still a couple hundred people that I was able to do this with. But when you hit that scale that you can't do with everybody, this is where you rely on your team. So the leaders underneath you should be having these same conversations. You should be able to ask them about the people on their staff. What do they want? It's a great way to kind of test whether your leaders are asking these same questions. And you can do it before you go meet with those people and kind of get that quick data dump. But again, stretch yourself, do it for more people than you think you can, and then rely on your leaders for the rest of it. And the last idea is really, okay, you've got a good understanding of the individuals, what they're trying to get. How good an understanding do they have of how you operate? So one of the other things I really recommend for people managers is to be very, very clear about your operating style. So this requires you to actually think about it. So you have to take some time, write it down if you want, but what is your style? Because most of us are so used to our default style that we don't even think about what it is. But you should figure out what it is and then communicate it. So how do you actually like to get information? Do you want it condensed with bullet points in an email? Do you like detailed status reports and PowerPoints and graphs and data? When should people call you? 24 hours a day? Are there certain windows? How many times should they contact you during the week? Do you want things batched up at the end of the day, or do you want things real time? Again, we all have different styles for working, and one of the biggest challenges, as most people know, is trying to figure out how does your manager actually operate? What do they like? What do they not like? And so as a manager, one of the best things that you can do is just tell the people that work for you, this is how I operate. This is how I like to get information. This is how I like to have issues raised, etc. The more you can share with your staff about how you operate, you're giving them the answer key. You're saying, for you to sort of maximize my view of your value, here's what I would like to see. And if you can be very explicit about that, it makes it much easier for your staff. It makes it much easier to figure out if there's a fit or not, because if you're clear and it's not a fit with somebody, you can actually have that conversation right there, as opposed to waiting for a couple months with bad performance and nobody knows why, and then you dig into it. Do it up front. So that's what I wanted to cover today. Just a couple of key ideas that you can think about. And again, the good thing about this is the video. I know it was a lot of information, so just go back and rewatch it if there are pieces that you miss. But here's the 4 key ideas wrapped up. So first, every time you triple the size of your organization, you need to rethink your systems. So prepare for that. When you're thinking you're going to get that promotion, you're thinking you're going to get that next team, prepare for it. 2, no matter how many people you get, they are all individuals. Don't forget that. Number 3, for each individual, figure out what they want as best as you can. Try to come up with a win-win to align what they want with what you want to be the most productive about it. And lastly, share your own style. Give them the answer key for how to succeed in your organization. Be blatant about it, explain it, ask for feedback. There might be ways you can improve, but that will give them a really big leg up in making sure that they succeed in the organization and the culture that you're trying to build. So those are the 4 key ideas. I hope that was useful. As always, if you want some more information, you can try out my Next Level crash course. Just go to drewsaur.com/next level. It's free, and you'll get more in-depth videos on topics like these. So once again, try it out, think about those skills, improve your people management, and I look forward to seeing you next time.